Avec le retrait annoncé des cookies tiers, le secteur de la publicité en ligne est aux prises avec l'imprévisibilité. Cette incertitude est le résultat d'une combinaison de facteurs juridiques, techniques et même politiques qui font qu'il est très difficile pour quiconque de prédire l'avenir. Pourtant, ce n'est pas seulement un vieux monde qui se meurt sous nos yeux, mais la naissance d'un nouveau, plus respectueux. Qu'est-ce qui attend les responsables du marketing et les acteurs de la tech en Europe ? Pour le savoir, j'ai demandé à Katja Hinveld, responsable pour le Benelux et la France de la tech danoise Adform, de faire la lumière sur ce sujet pour nos lecteurs.
Des interviews, des chiffres, des faits, des études. Pas de blabla, ce sont les podcasts de Visionary Marketing disponibles sur toutes les bonnes chaînes de balado-diffusion.
Bonjour, vous êtes bien sur les podcasts de Visionary Marketing. Le sujet du jour, avenir de la publicité en ligne. 40% de l'inventaire numérique est déjà sans cookies. Avec Katja Hinveld d'Adform, qui nous prédit la naissance d'un monde meilleur. Ce podcast est réalisé en partenariat avec Écran Mobile pour le compte de Adform, fournisseur de solutions pour la publicité digitale. Nous avons rédigé ce billet avec notre objectif habituel d'indépendance et d'authenticité. Comme le dit Katja Hinveld, il y a beaucoup de confusion en ce moment dans le monde de la tech et cela ne facilite pas la vie des annonceurs. Ils sont déconcertés et se demandent « Dois-je agir maintenant ou attendre que Google propose quelque chose de nouveau ?» De nombreux navigateurs ont déjà abandonné les cookies tiers il y a des années et ils continuent à ajouter des dispositifs anti-tracking à leur logiciel. Chrome a également annoncé la fin des cookies pour 2023. Ce n'est pas une grande surprise pour Katja, mais cela reste un défi pour ce secteur, nous a-t-elle dit. En France, c'est déjà 40% de l'inventaire numérique qui est sans cookies. Comment allons-nous continuer à faire tourner la publicité programmatique à laquelle ce secteur s'est tellement habitué, a-t-elle poursuivi. Nous avions l'habitude de compter sur des cookies tiers pour le ciblage, le retargeting, pour le capping, etc. Nous nous trouvons actuellement dans une zone un peu grise où les données devraient être protégées mais sont quand même utilisées. Les acteurs du secteur attendent un accord entre les États-Unis et l'Europe, mais il y a beaucoup d'imprévisibilité juridique. Et en attendant, ajoute Katja, les spécialistes du marketing doivent s'accommoder de cette situation. Les cookies tiers sont condamnés à mourir, c'est une question de temps selon elle. Les first party IDs rendront le pourvoir aux consommateurs, a-t-elle déclaré. C'est donc une nouvelle positive, même si la disparition des cookies tiers fait encore parler dans notre profession. C'est un avenir sans cookies tiers, c'est sûr, mais c'est quand même très positif parce que beaucoup de choses que vous pouviez faire grâce aux cookies tiers, vous pourrez les faire grâce à ces identifiants First Party IDs, nous dit-elle. Google pourrait également proposer quelque chose de nouveau l'année prochaine, ajoute-t-elle. La publicité programmatique a mauvaise presse depuis plusieurs années en raison de problèmes liés à la confidentialité des données, au RGPD et au manque de transparence. Je pense que c'est un point de bascule pour notre industrie, nous dit-elle. Il y a de l'espoir que finalement, nous allons séparer le bon grain de l'ivraie. Et maintenant, je vais vous laisser en compagnie de Katja pour l'enregistrement de l'interview originale en anglais.
So I'm here with Katja Hinveld from Adform. You are the country manager for Adform in the Benelux and France. Adform is a Danish company. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about this before we delve into this subject.
Yes, so Adform has been around for 20 years. In fact, we are celebrating our 20th birthday this year, so that's quite a big deal. We started as a Danish company and still are a Danish company, very much European owned. 20 years ago, with 3 developers, the traditional story of 3 developers in a garage, and built from ad serving initially, and then throughout the years, as of course emerging technologies such as programmatic advertising came about, and Adform jumped onto that a couple of years ago, many years ago, and DMP, and the fully integrated ad tech suite we have now that is called Adform Flow. So,
well, that's perfectly apt for today's topic, which is the future of online advertising in this cookieless world. Well, I must admit, Katja, I'm relying heavily on you here because I'm completely lost. I suspect that a lot of marketeers around Europe are quite lost as well.
As you rightfully point out, of course, there is a lot of confusion at the moment. I think the topic has been flying around for a couple of years, but it became probably more urgent for the wider market when, of course, Chrome announced also to bin the third-party cookie. But as you say, there is a lot of confusion. There's a lot of uncertainty. You see that, tech companies are running left, right, and centers. Advertisers are kind of a little bit confused. Like, what do I do? What do I test? Or shall I just wait around for what Google does? It's difficult because there's, for Adform, it was a different story because we've been originally, of course, born in Europe. So for us, we had a lot of finance clients, a lot of government clients. For us, already data protection, for example, and privacy was already an issue several years ago. So we've kind of been lucky in that sense with our European heritage that we've always been very strict with personal identifiable data, etc. So I think for us it was a little bit easier to start with that earlier. Safari and Firefox, of course, already killed the cookie a couple of years ago. For us in Europe, there was quite a large portion of available inventory was Safari and Firefox. So we kind of started developing solutions or looking at solutions for that, 3 or 4 years ago already to try and come up with, the golden egg solution, I suppose, like many tech companies are trying. So then when Chrome also announced it, it wasn't a huge surprise for us, but it was still, something that's definitely an industry challenge. Okay. Like, how do you continue programmatic advertising? How do you, we've grown so used as an industry to be able to advertise thanks to third-party cookies, to be able to target people, to be able to retarget people, frequency capping, all those beautiful things. And they were, they are threatened with its existence, of course, because very rightfully, privacy legislation is becoming stricter and stricter, which is a good thing because consumers need to be protected. So it's an uncertain time. Of course, there was a preliminary agreement between Biden and the EU, of course, but that's not yet a solution. It's just we think we can come to an agreement. So where that leaves the industry, it's still quite insecure. If you're an large advertiser and you're housing your data and your tech with a US company, that is currently still quite insecure. What's going to happen there? Are you, operating within the correct privacy laws?
So what I understand from what you say is that we're in a bit of a grey area where things should not happen, but are still happening because they're not formally forbidden.
Yeah, and the market is people are sort of at ease a bit, where they go, oh, okay, there's going to be an agreement between the US and Europe. It's going to be fine. But it's not that certain just yet, so I wouldn't, assume that it's all going to be fine.
Right. So as far as the legal side is concerned, I think we'll have to wait a little. Let's go back to the technical unpredictability side of things, because you mentioned Safari having started to ban cookies. Firefox did this. Now Chrome is threatening to do this in the future. Brave is doing this. Fair enough, but everybody's using Chrome.
Well, you'd be surprised. I mean, in Europe, it varies hugely, of course. I mean, if you add up Safari, Chrome, and the others, for example, in a market like France, that's 40% of users or 40% of digital inventory also, therefore. That is cookieless already.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a large chunk. So if you're only focusing on Chrome and only focusing on third-party cookies, you're missing out a huge chunk of reach and of consumers that you haven't been able to reach effectively for many years. So it's larger than you think. There's been several steps, right? And one after the other browser denounced the third-party cookie. So yes, it's true. Only Chrome is now left, and it was meant to, of course, be cancelled this year, and Google postponed it for whatever reasons they may have. Most people in the market think because they haven't yet found the perfect solution, how they can still get away with having tech and media and emails and search and having that data from all over the world. I think for them it's a harder challenge than for a company like Adform, for example, because we only do tech. So it's a slightly easier puzzle, I suppose, for us, and indeed the fact that we have this European heritage. But how we see the future really is indeed still very positive. It's a future without third-party cookies, for sure, but it's still a very positive future because a lot of the things that you could do through third-party cookies, you can do through first-party IDs, I should say. And of course, we don't really see first-party IDs as a one-on-one replacement or a copy of the third-party cookie, because it still has to be within the privacy laws and the GDPR regulations. And how we see it, and most industry experts, we believe, agree, is that the first-party ID does not pose the same problem, because as a tech company, for example, you can no longer just randomly drop cookies on every user's browser, right?
Randomly.
So first-party IDs are a much safer, a much more sustainable solution for this problem, and they allow you to still be able to do digital advertising and one-on-one advertising rather than, for example, in cohorts.
So now you're talking. Basically, what I understand from you is that we are now entering a new age of permission marketing, where basically users agree to receive information, advertising, personalized advertising. Does that mean that eventually the cookie will die entirely?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. That's just a matter of time when Chrome pulls the plug. The third-party cookie is dead. And already a lot of agencies and advertisers have started testing for this post-cookie world, right? They have to be ready. And a lot of them have started testing how do first-party IDs compare to third-party cookies. Can I get similar benefits from one-on-one marketing? The beauty is indeed that it gives back a lot more power back to publishers, but also power back to consumers rather than tech companies willy-nilly, dropping cookies everywhere and following everybody. So it's a good thing, but it's not a popular thing, of course, in the industry, because it's a change. Yeah, but even on that front, because what we see with first-party IDs is, of course, they come in many flavors, and you have indeed login data, which is a luxury for publishers if they can. But there's also a lot of publishers that don't have the luxury to get their users to log in, of course, and that's server-side first-party IDs. That are still extremely useful for publishers to be able to use and to monetize on. Yeah, so both login as well as non-login IDs are very valuable for publishers.
So I understand from you now that the cookie is really, really, really going to die. Now it's a matter of time. So what is it? 3 years, 5 years from now, 10 years from now?
Well, I don't know. If Google does what they say they're going to do, it's going to be next year. So then it's the end of an era, the end of the third-party cookie.
But are these guys going to get their act together? Because they were supposed to be doing that last year, weren't they? Yeah.
Well, you never underestimate Google. So we're somewhere a little bit cocky at the moment, because we're quite confident at Adform that we've, got the most amazing solution for this. I'm sure Google next year might also come up with something, but for them it's a harder thing. They might have to sell off some of their tech, or there's a lot of gossip in the industry, of course, about the ad serving side, for example, with Google, or the Google Analytics side. They still have to figure that out, it almost seems. But as said, never underestimate Google.
No, we certainly don't do that. Now, if I remember well, their revenue share is something around 90% based on advertising at Google. Mm-hmm. So it must be a big change. Is there a risk that Google may actually dwindle?
Well, there is a risk, and I think that's the reason why it's been postponed. Because if they would have pulled the plug on the cookie already this year without having a backup plan for their advertising revenue, I think.
Interesting times. I've heard
interesting
web experts predict that one of the tech giants in the US would disappear in the next 5 years, and it's time we move forward. Now,
never a dull moment. Never a dull moment in our industry.
Can you reassure me about the fact that they're not going to reinvent something like fingerprinting or flock, or to replace the cookies with something which is even more evil?
Well, no. I think I have faith in the European law and European politics to understand the complexity of this this situation. But I don't think I think it's the end of dodgy and malified practices in our industry. In a way, it's a good thing. I mean, programmatic advertising specifically has had a bad rep for several years because of data privacy and GDPR issues, and also because of transparency issues. I think it's a tipping point we're at in the industry. It's we hope it's gonna weed out the good from the bad, if you know what I mean.
Because of all these changes, I mean, both from a technical and a legal point of view, what will be the impact in your mind on marketeers and advertisers?
Marketeers and advertisers are going to have to get over the third-party cookie and start testing new things. Of course, for programmatic advertising specifically, you can do contextual advertising. That has always been possible. That is a fantastic, solution, but it's not the be-all and end-all. Advertisers can also already now, before it's too late, before it's 2023 and there's really no more cookies, they can already now start testing on first-party identity environments. Certain DSPs, such as Adform, of course, already have this available now where you can really buy campaigns and you target specifically on first-party IDs. And to be able to test that, to see, okay, how can I create more reach? How can I frequency cap? How can I retarget or use specific buying algorithms that weren't possible anymore in cookieless environments? That's actually quite exciting. There's a lot of testing going on all over Europe with large brands, large advertisers and agencies, and it's in a way quite an exciting time, if you know what I mean. We've all been quite doom and gloom about the departure of the third-party cookie, but it's actually not. But it's a tipping point.
Does that mean that there's going to be a shift from advertising and sort of mass customization and mass personalization to something a little bit more private and focused on customers? In fact, more something which resembles hyper personalization. That's such as what we see in engagement platforms, for instance, targeting customers individually based on their customer journey, and basically it's going back to the basics and know your customer sort of thing, isn't it?
Well, it's going to be a mix, of course, because I mean, without consent, you still can't do one-on-one marketing. But if there is consent, then you'll see a mix indeed of, like I said, contextual targeting, but still the possibility of also doing one-on-one marketing is quite exciting. So that's definitely not dead.
At the end of the day, could there be some sort of overlap between what advertising tech companies are doing and personalization platforms are doing? Or maybe some mergers. Who knows?
Well, that's interesting. There's definitely a lot of collaboration. For example, Adform decided not to launch their own ID because there were already so many ID vendors out there. There's like ID5, there's Criteo, there's Popcommon ID. I'm only naming a few. LiveRamp, of course, for login IDs. There's about 30 different ID vendors and consortiums that publishers or advertisers can choose from. So Adform, for example, decided, okay, we're not going to launch our own, so we're going to open up our platform for all of those IDs. So that's quite a unique approach because it's rather than choosing our own ID, like, for example, the trade desk is doing, or indeed Google in the future is probably only going to be on Chrome. So for us, it was more like, let's collaborate with all these ID partners, let's collaborate with all publishers. And for a long time, people thought, okay, maybe there's going to be one ID flavor or one ID language that everybody was going to speak, but that's not going to be the case. The reality is now that there's heaps of different ID consortium, ID vendors out there, and the trick is to be able to read them all and to be able to match and still make some sense out of that huge amount of data, to be able to match that, yes, this is indeed the same user, and yes, they have given consent. We can still target them, not on the basis of first-party IDs instead of third-party cookies.
I have the feeling that there'll be a lot of talk about these IDs in the next few years, and I suspect that Google will come up with one as well.
Who knows? Time will tell.
Okay, what I understand is this cookie-less world that we are describing. European advertising technology players have a role to play, and they have maybe a once-in-a-lifetime chance to compete against these American tech giants.
It could be the way. I mean, we don't want to be nationalistic about advertising technology, but yes, right now it is probably not a safe time to, put your tech and your advertising tech specifically with the US company. Yeah, there is a good point there. Who knows what's going to happen? You see. You also see more and more publishers also building walled gardens. So you might have indeed a little bit of a European walled garden. I don't think the US walled gardens will go away completely. We've made them so strong and so powerful in the last 15, 20 years. They are definitely having a bit of a rough time right now, but I can't imagine that they would disappear completely. But it's definitely a great opportunity to be a European tech company right now, that they've been marginalized and competed away, and there's a little bit of this is offering some chances for smaller European tech who are best in class, I suppose, when it comes down to GDPR regulation and privacy.
Let's conclude this interview, if you will, with a quick question about what our European marketeers should do. Should they wait and see, or should they anticipate these changes and then do something about it?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I mean, we see a lot of big brands who are still a little bit careful, a little bit cautious, who think, okay, well, let's just wait and see what Google's going to do next year. But we also see a lot of large European or global brands who go, no, you know what, let's just start testing. And you don't have to completely sack your current tech stack. You can, test another DSP and see, how does it work in the post-cookie world? What are my options to test on cookieless environments? First-party IDs, first-party data. There's a lot of really exciting things that they can be testing right now without a massive overhaul or an invasive review of all of their tech straight away. But two small tests, that would be our recommendation.
And God knows there's a lot of work to be done on first-party data. When I read some of the statistics about how customers and consumers in particular are very unhappy about the way that they receive unpersonalized messages, that they are unhappy about the way that their data is actually poorly kept by businesses who barely know where they live and who they are. So, in fact, it's back to basics and know your customer sort of thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's exciting times.
Exactly. I think it's a one-in-a-lifetime opportunity for businesses and marketeers to get more interested in their customers and live up to the Marketing Revolution pamphlet proposal. The customer, not the company, is in the middle. Robert Keith, 1956. Thank you very much, Katja. As you say, these are very interesting times, and I'm sure we'll hear a lot more about this cookieless world and whatever replaces it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Great to be here. Thanks.
Surtout, n'oubliez pas de mettre une bonne note à ce podcast si vous l'avez apprécié.